The U.S. Supreme Court wraps up its term today with rulings on several issues, including the Trump administration's efforts to end birthright citizenship. 21 News at 5 legal expert attorney Brian Kopp is back with us to go over the court's decision. Brian, great to have you back with us.
Good to see you again.
Yes, so the court weighed in on birthright citizenship. The ruling lifts any temporary blocks that were issued from the lower courts. What does this ruling mean for those cases? Because the DOJ didn't go after the merits of birthright citizenship. It was more procedural?
Yes, we talk about this as lawyers all the time. When you think about procedure, it's kind of the rules of how you play the game, where the score is the win or loss. So when we say merits, that's talking about the evidence and the legal issues, and the ruling on that really becomes the win or loss for the parties. This is, from what I can gather quickly, is entirely procedural, the ruling that came out today, which means the Supreme Court has defined how the lower courts are to allow parties to play the game. And that basically means that you're not going to have national injunctions going forward.
So what does this mean for folks that have active cases?
Well, it means that whatever the government policy that's in place before the injunction was issued is alive and well until somebody makes a ruling that has a national effect. What is a little unclear is I still think it could be, you could have injunctive relief in the local jurisdiction. I mean, I think you heard the Attorney General earlier talking about how many judicial federal districts there are. 90 some, and most of these rulings have come out of 5. So it's kind of like when the Supreme Court struck down the laws on abortion and how each states were treating it differently. I believe you're going to see some inconsistent rulings until these things work themselves up to the Court of Appeals and then ultimately to the Supreme Court.
I think a lot of folks have questions now about the authority of the president, executive orders,
Yes.
and what it will look like moving forward. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she explained that the Supreme Court's ruling does not change the 14th Amendment, but does this latest decision then set a precedent when it comes to lower courts issuing against injunction, against any constitutional amendment? Will this change?
Well, injunctions are immediate relief, and they can be local, they can be national up until this ruling. So what I think happens now is that the process slows itself down. You're not going to see a district court with, in essence, temporary veto power. Now, it depends on which side of the equation you're on in any case. And I've always said when the Supreme Court makes rulings like this, they sound great for one side at the time. But this is going to have a lot of meaningful impact, or have a very meaningful impact on a lot of important cases moving forward. So sometimes you're on the winning side in the legal game, and sometimes you're not. Right now, I think there's a whole bunch of lawyers wondering how this affects a lot of cases that are being handled nationally.
Are there any other legal options families facing deportation have now that the Supreme Court has made this ruling?
As far as immediate relief or court coming in, I would say no. Now, if you're in a jurisdiction where there is some sort of enforceable injunction, which I'm not quite clear how that's going to shake down, meaning does this mean the district court are able to put temporary injunctions on in certain aspects? I think that's going to take some time to shake out.
Okay. Attorney Kopp, thank you so much for taking time to join us right here at 5. A lot of questions about the ruling here today, so great to have you break it down for us.
Have a great weekend.